We have said many times on this show, when previewing the course, try and hit that powerline descent in the morning when you expect to be going down it on race day. There's that morning glare and the dust you want to be aware of. It is also a great opportunity, when reconning, to see how your eyewear is either helping or hurting you.
You know, that is a piece of equipment we should be talking more about on this show, your sunglasses. Our sponsor, Shimano, may not be the first company that comes to mind when you are considering what brand of shades to go with, but I'm here to tell you it should be. I love my S-Fire sunglasses, and I am using them in all my rides, especially Leadville. They sit right, they feel light, and they stay in place on every mountain bike ride. More importantly, I can see every bump, rut, and rock on the trail.
Yeah, those S-Fires are really great. What I love is all the lens choices. There are 4 that fit the standard S-Fire frames, and one in particular that is designed for the changing light conditions you find on trail. And changing light is exactly what you will encounter during the first 30 miles of the LT100. Low light at the start, tree coverage on Kevins, sunrise going up Sugarloaf, and the dust and glare we mentioned going down Powerline. It is an optics challenge galore.
And Hadi, that is exactly why I have been racing in my S-Fires. They give me every opportunity to see what I need to in those challenging conditions. The S-Fire is not the only model you'll find on the Shimano side either. In true Shimano fashion, the company offers all kinds of sunglasses. I just happen to like the S-Fires. If you have time to recon the course, check out the Powerline descent and try to do it in the morning, and do it wearing Shimano sunglasses. You can check out Shimano's entire line of eyewear at bike.shimano.com.
3, 2, 1.
Leadville, the podcast for the 100-mile mountain bike race, presented by Shimano. Find them at bike.shimano.com. This is Season 6, Episode 5 of the show that breaks down, builds up, gets you ready, freaks you out for the highest, hardest one-day mountain bike race in the country. I am Michael Houghton, Hottie to most.
And I am Fatty to practically everyone. Our new segment this season is all about your questions. And so far, we are calling it the LFAQs, Leadville Frequently Asked Questions. And in some cases, not so frequently asked questions, whatever. Send us your ideas for the name because it is a work in progress. And this episode is all about your questions, the questions you have asked, and frankly, we have too, about the new stuff Lifetime has in store for us in this year's Leadville 100.
That's right. The changing qualifiers, the no aero bar rule, the White Corral, and more is what we'll be discussing with our guest this week, Ryan Cross of the Leadville Race Series. One note on this show, it was recorded in February 2023, so some of the answers may become dated later in the season. Please check your feed for updates as we hope to have Lifetime on again as race day nears. This is a preliminary look at what's new for 2023. Speaking of new, hello, Envy. Fatty, I know you won't be totally happy with this, but Envy is adding to its bike lineup, and it is sticking with the drop bar side of things. Envy now has a full-fledged adventure gravel bike it is calling MOG. And MOG stands for a lot of things. Mother of Gravel, Machine of Grit, Method of Gain. Unfortunately, Fatty, the M in MOG does not stand for mountain bike.
I have been holding out for a long time to get a gravel bike. It may be time for me to go ahead and pull that trigger. I keep getting my hopes up for an Envy mountain bike only to have them dashed. But with the introduction of the MOG, there is definitely some reason for continued optimism. I'm not a graveler at heart, you know that. But there is a lot for mountain bikers to love about the MOG. First, 50 millimeter tires clearance, which is very close to mountain bike size. And unlike Envy's other models, the MOG is purpose-built to be a mostly off-road machine. The other thing that I like about what Envy did with the MOG is they took this really firm stance when it comes to wheel size. While other bike makers say that their gravel bikes perform well either with 700C or 650B wheels, Envy says the MOG works best with 700C and recommends that riders run that wheel size.
In fact, on the MOG spec sheet, it says 650B not recommended. Love that Envy takes a hard stand there. The MOG is kind of like the Melee in that it comes in factory sizes, 6 of them in all. But check it out. Envy is offering 3 fork brakes so that each frame has an appropriate trail number for that particular size. The MOG is a module for now, so frame, fork, bar, stem, and seat post. Riders working through a dealer can order a frame with the right size bars and stem, another cool Envy feature. Eventually, Envy plans to do complete builds, so check their site for the latest.
Now, I'm still hoping for the Envy mountain bike, but I am definitely giving Envy props for this bike. The MOG is an off-road bike worthy of the Envy logo. I wouldn't be too surprised if we see 1 or 2 of those on the course this year. To check out the MOG and all of Envy's bike offerings, it is enve.com.
One of the great things about the Leadville Trail 100 is its history and how the race, in many ways, is the same race it was in 1994, the first edition. Same 6th and Harrison start line, same Ken Klober shotgun blast, same Merrily handing out finisher medals. But things do change. Corrals, wave starts, qualifiers, and this year is no different.
Yeah, and with change comes adjustment and questions. Many of you have been asking for clarification on some of the new things announced by Lifetime, and so that's what this episode is all about. Ryan Cross is back on the show to answer your questions and more. Officially, he is Senior Marketing Manager with Lifetime, but on a practical sense, Ryan is one of the people deeply involved with getting the Leadville races rolling, and he is a racer himself, so he feels these in his heart. This is Ryan's 3rd appearance on the podcast in less than a year, and this time Ryan's here to update what is new for 2023, and he has a few teasers for what's in the works for future editions.
Well, it's great to have back with us Ryan Cross of Lifetime. Ryan is one of the folks with Lifetime who oversees all the races in Leadville, the bike that we all love, of course, the run, the marathon. There's a lot on his plate. We've brought Ryan back here, of course, to focus on our favorite event, the LT 100. Ryan, thanks for being here. We just wanted to get kind of caught up on what's going on. Here we are, we're recording this about 6 months out from race day. So we wanted to, give folks an early update on what Lifetime is looking at as far as the 2023 edition. You folks have made some news, obviously, with the feud items already. So let's just start knocking those out. First of all, qualifiers. What's in and what is out as far as getting into the Leadville Trail 100?
Yeah, thanks, Adi. Well, first of all, thanks for having me back on the pod. It's a pleasure, and I love getting the opportunity to chat with you guys and chat about the race series that we're also passionate about. So excited to be here. But yeah, jumping right in, qualifiers. Yeah, we've got some great announcements coming up this year. We announced that the Sea Otter Fuego XL will be a new qualifier for the Leadville Trail 100 mountain bike race, as well as our new qualifier in Bentonville, the Little Sugar mountain bike race. So that'll go up right before the Big Sugar gravel race. So we're kind of tying those in together for one awesome week of bike action in Northwest Arkansas. So those are the 2 new ones. And in addition to that, we've pulled out from the previous qualifiers, Barn Burner and Wheelington Whiteface. So we've got some additions, some subtractions, and the calendar's set.
Could you tell us what happened to Barn Burner? And Wilmington was always kind of this troublesome race. There seemed to be a lot of confusion of whether that thing was happening or not. Barn Burner was a steady one for you folks. Why are those two off the list now?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time talking about that, and the reality is that we've got some amazing events as part of the race series they're doing really well. That produce top-notch experience for people, and we just want to continue to refine what we're doing well and continue to make those events better and better and focus on the athlete experience. And by investing more resources into the things that we believe have more long-term the athlete experience elements, more just an overall better produced race, we're able to put our eggs in that basket, so to speak. Barn Burner was a really long-standing event that was actually founded by Chemo and Mike Melly, who are both on our senior leadership team. I know you guys are familiar with both those guys. And so, yeah, there were some heart-wrenching conversations about Barn Burner. Like this is an event that was both near and dear to their hearts, as well as, some of our audience, the Leadville Racers audience. But again, just as we continue to kind of refine, we looked at, is this event growing? Are there experiential elements that we can tie in? And it just made more sense for us to focus on some of these other events like Silver Rush and, obviously the new qualifiers that I added to the list here. And not just that, but we have had some, just kind of production nuances with working with various production teams around the country. And you mentioned Wilmington, and for the folks that aren't familiar, Wilmington was an event that was actually produced by a third party, and we essentially licensed it as a Leadville Race Series qualifier. And what we found over the years is that those licensee agreements are often challenging to replicate the experience that we're able to produce in Leadville with, say, our Silver Rush 50, for example. And we loved having that event. We did have some folks that absolutely loved it, same with Barn Burner, but ultimately we felt like for our long-term growth and to preserve the athlete experience, producing the events that we have in-house, that we have control of from start to finish, really made more sense for us.
Sea Otter, Lutsen, Tahoe, Stage Race, Silver Rush are all events that happened before the Leadville Trail 100. Is there still availability in any of those races going into 2023 here, as of February at least?
Yeah. Several of them are still open. Silver Rush is really close to selling out. As of this morning, we're kind of down to the wire on that one. So if you're thinking Silver Rush 50 mountain bike, definitely jump on it. But that one is available. The other one that I love to send people towards is Tahoe. It's such a beautiful event. I was out there last year and got a firsthand look at it, and the course is amazing. Who doesn't want to be in Lake Tahoe in July? It's just gorgeous. And, we do have a lot of folks going out there to qualify, but we have a lot of folks that are just going out there for that awesome race experience too. So it's always kind of been one of those kind of hidden gems in terms of qualifying. And, I don't want to say what the odds are relative to some of the other events, but I think people are pretty aware that qualifying at Tahoe is very much an option. So definitely encourage you to check that one out. We're over half full on it currently, but it will fill up hopefully here in the next month or two. So jump on that one quickly as well.
Yep, Tahoe was my way in twice. It's a great event, and that kind of mirrors Leadville a little bit, so I fully endorse that thing too. That leaves a Little Sugar, the new event, and Austin coming after the Trail 100 folks. So there's still qualifiers on the list, but they just happen after the Leadville Trail 100. Any details yet, Ryan, on Sea Otter and Little Sugar about maybe corral times or course layout? Is there anything there yet?
Yeah, definitely. The courses, like all of our Leadville qualifiers, they're going to be long. They're going to be tough. There's going to be climbing. The Bentonville and Northwest Arkansas course is going to be really interesting because it will have more single track than some of our other races. We mentioned Tahoe, but there's a couple of our qualifiers that don't have much single track at all, but races like Tahoe and now Little Sugar are going to offer a little bit of a spicier course option. The Little Sugar course is going to have just over 6,000 feet of climbing for 100K, so quite a bit of undulation, but not quite as much as a Silver Rush, for example. But it'll have a good mix. It's going to be leaving from Kohler Mountain Bike Preserve in Bentonville and going out into the Bella Vista community, the Back 40 trails, and then it'll finish in downtown Bentonville, similar to how the Big Sugar gravel race is finishing there. So really, really cool that we get to kind of showcase different parts of Northwest Arkansas. And we've got two really great venues that we're working with. So those courses are going to be amazing, whether you're doing the 100K or one of our shorter options. And we're just really excited to be back in Northwest Arkansas for that.
So with this suite of qualifiers, then, is your dance card full? Or are there additional places or courses that you still want to add to the qualifier list?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's one we're always asking ourselves. We want to continue to grow the race series in a thoughtful way. And adding 2 qualifiers this year was a big change, and that's where we're going to be for 2023. We don't anticipate adding anything else this year. But that said, I'll give you a peek behind the curtain in that we're always continuing to look towards the East Coast. We know when we removed Wilmington, we had quite a few folks who were disappointed that the closest qualifier option for them was Lutsen, which is not exactly an easy race to get to. So we do want to make sure that we're serving our community out in the East Coast and particularly Northeast. And so we've looked all over, up and down. We've looked at North Carolina, South Carolina, and as far down as Georgia and Alabama, where actually Marathon Mountain Bike Nationals will be in Alabama this year. So it's becoming a bit of a hotbed itself. So yeah, we're looking, we're continuing to evaluate options, and we definitely want to leave some on the table. I would personally love to see us racing out on the East Coast and adding a qualifier out there, but growth comes incrementally, and we're getting there. And these 2 new qualifiers that we're super excited about are going to be the bookend for 23. But yeah, if you're looking ahead, if anyone knows any awesome East Coast venues to put on 100, give me a shout.
Here come the emails, Ryan. I guarantee you. There's a lot of folks in Georgia, the Carolinas, Virginia.
Hey, I'd love to have them.
I can't tell you how many people, Fatty, I ran into from Georgia every year at Leadville, especially in 2022. I mean, after another Georgia. They love their mountain biking there, and they're hungry, for something a little more regional. Arkansas is arguably within their reach, but man, they could use something on the eastern seaboard for sure. Tell us real quickly about the races that are falling off your list. Again, Barn Burner and Wilmington. I see that the times from 2022, the race times from 2022 still apply for those folks who are racing in 2023. And will that be it? Will then those finish times from Burner and Wilmington fall off and no longer be honored?
Yeah, that's right. So we'll wrap up this year honoring the times from 22, and then moving forward, those times will no longer be set for corrals.
Hey, Hadi asked this, but it is an interesting question. How do you figure out the algorithm for these new races and what corrals they're going to put people into with their times?
Yeah, good question. I mean, we basically have to go in and create a spreadsheet based on, miles per hour, so average speed of the various times based on corral, factor in climbing, adding in those variables, even elevation. Sea Otter and Bentonville obviously are not at altitude. Silver Rush is, so, and Tahoe as well. So looking at all of these different factors, we have a couple different formulas that we factor in, and obviously the 2 biggest factors are elevation and distance, right? Like that's where we can kind of draw a one-to-one comparison against some of these courses. But yeah, there are some variables that you can't put in a spreadsheet, like, the rocky single track and tire slashing terrain in Bentonville, So yeah, some of it is a little bit subjective. We have to look at it, what the times come out to and average speeds and distances and such. But we also have to factor in some of those other elements too. And for most of these qualifiers, we're able to look back on historical times. We can compare data across Silver Rush and Lutsen and some of these events that we've had in the mix for a while and say, okay, so we put, all of these folks with this time in the Blue Corral. How did that actually stack up against their time in Leadville? So we do some relatively robust data analyses on that front. But for the new ones, it's going to be a little bit of a trial and error, but we like to think that we're relatively calculated, and hopefully those corral times will be pretty spot on.
We got some listeners who could do a lot of additional analysis for you. I do wonder, so, suppose I did one of these new qualifiers, would my time be, I guess, would I be able to apply it to either 23 or to 24 or one or the other?
Yep. Yeah. So you can apply those to 24 as well. Historically, we've always gone back 1 year. That changed a little bit during COVID and all of the craziness that ensued with the cancellations. And, then there were some events that were produced in 2021, that were not produced in 2021 that came back in 22. So we had to do a little bit of mix and match. And ultimately, we just wanted to, to honor the athletes. And if you registered with us, even as far back as 2019, intending to race in 2020, then, we had to do right by the athlete. We weren't going to pull the rug out from underneath you and say, hey, well, back in 2020, you raced the Austin Rowler, that happened. But, we just wanted to make sure that we were honoring the athlete's commitment to race with us. And so we extended those years out a little bit further. But now that we're in a production cycle of two good years, everything's happened now for 2 years, that now we're going back to the old rule, which was going back 1 year.
Let's talk about another thing that's come up and become a topic of discussion, and that is the lifetime membership entry, where folks who are members at a lifetime facility obviously get a crack at entering a lifetime event, not only the LT100, but anything that Lifetime puts on. And I think some people were a little
grumpy.
Grumpy would be one word. Yeah, surprised by. I'll use the word surprise. They were unaware of this. I think it's been going on longer than any of us knew. Is that right, Ryan? Like, this has been in place for a while.
We started it in 2021 and then had it again last year going into this year.
And so what qualifies as being a member of Lifetime? Do you have to be a member of a gym? Can you have a digital membership? How does that work?
Yeah, so you can either have a digital or an in-club membership, and it has to be for 12 months prior to the registration or the lottery, depending on the event. If it's the Leadville Trail 100, obviously a lottery event, you have to have that membership 12 months in advance of the lottery launch. Or the qualifiers that open up a little bit later, we basically open up an early registration window. Those are non-lottery events, obviously, first come, first serve. So what we're doing is opening up a 1 week window prior to the registration launch. So being a member, digital or in club, for 1 year prior to that window.
If you want to get in to the LT100, the Big Daddy, using a lifetime membership, and you don't have one now, the best you can expect the earliest you can expect to get into that race, it would be 2024?
Well, actually be technically 25 for the 100. Yeah, because going back 12 months, if you were to register for a membership, let's say today, we still wouldn't be within that 12-month timeline for the lottery.
I mean, doing quick math, this is a nice benefit for people who happen to be members of the gym. It is not at all the cheapest way to get into the race if you just want to buy your way in. Yeah.
Fatty, the digital membership is $15. So that is, I think, economically speaking, is not a bad way to do it.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about the digital membership. Yeah, that actually, the math on that actually works out pretty nicely. How many, can you tell us how many people took avail of that? How many said, use that as the way to get into the race this year?
Yeah, so just kind of rolling this back a little bit, we want to serve, our club members as well as obviously anyone that wants to participate in any of our race series events. And, we don't have clubs in Leadville. We don't have clubs in Emporia, Kansas, where some of our biggest events are. This is a way to hopefully tie in the Lifetime brand to some of our event audience, like try to expose the event audience to some of the cool stuff we're doing at Lifetime. At the end of the day, Lifetime is the one that's responsible for operating these events and, for having folks like myself and the rest of our team able to be boots on the ground, producing these incredible life-changing experiences. So this is just one more way for us to try to bridge that gap, to connect those two parties, if you will. And we encourage people to take a look at that digital membership. I actually personally use it for some core workouts and stuff like that. And ultimately the intention here is not for us to make more money and to prioritize members. Like I said, the markets where we have the most members are not necessarily the same people who are going to sign up for the Leadville Trail 100. It's really just to try to bridge that gap, to try to connect the club side of our business with these experiential events that we know can change people's lives, as you guys have seen time and time again. So that's really kind of the reasoning behind it. And yeah, it is one avenue. And, back to your original question, Eldon, we're not talking hundreds of people using this benefit. This is something we've rolled out in the last couple of years, like you said, but it is not eating up significant portions of the lottery. if it ever did, we would have a conversation to have, because at the end of the day, that integrity of the lottery is important to us. And we want to make sure that everyone has a shot to get into this event, whether that's lottery or qualifier or charity entry. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, we want to make sure we're doing right by Lifetime, but also making sure that we're doing right by all the folks that, want to show up and race with us every year.
Okay. Another bit of news you guys made, and that is you dared to get into the rulemaking business and dared to take on the aero bar debate. Now, look, the pros got their own thing, right? If they're having problems with aero bars and you guys and Lifetime needs to step in and tell them what to do, okay, I get it. But Lifetime also decided for the LT100, that is, that aero bars for the rest of us, age group riders, amateurs out there, citizen racers, were also not going to be allowed. No aero bars for the LT100, for all of us, for anybody in the event. So why for the rest of the field? Why was it important that that be legislated for every rider? Not the pros. You set the pros aside. Why for the rest of us?
Well, in short, guys, it's a safety decision. I mean, at the end of the day, that's our number one priority, is making sure that everyone is safe out there and that the athlete experience is top notch. And we have received feedback over the years of folks riding in aero bars on St. Kevin's and areas where you just don't need them. And, you guys know as well as I do, this course in and out, up and down, and we just don't need them out there. With the very small exception of maybe riding that pavement between the fish hatchery and pipeline and such, I just don't think there's a need for them. And ultimately, again, we just looked at rider safety, rider experience, and we felt like if we were making this decision for pros or for anyone, that we wanted to make sure that decision was made for the rest of the field too. So we made the call and we pulled back on that. And I really don't see this impacting someone's performance at the end of the day. And I personally have ridden that course and been all over it hundreds of hours, and I know you guys have too. And I just, we just don't feel like it's a necessity, and we don't think that, it limits someone's ability to perform out there. And again, it's really just about safety. And, the last thing we want to see is someone tucked in aero bars going down 6th Street and, bumping into other riders and taking someone out at 40 miles an hour at 6:35 in the morning. And so, yeah, it's a change, and we're not necessarily trying to get into the rule making business. That's not what we do, and we love the fact that a lot of our events, particularly in Leadville, don't have this kind of structure and sanctioning that you see in some other races, and we're not intending to further add any rules unless they do make the race better in some way.
Of course, a lot of folks are out there going, okay, it's fine, no aero bars, I get that. But what about my things I love to run? Like a lot of people like bars in. That's where you take a set of bar ends and put them inboard of your grips. So I have an alternate hand position. What about alt bars? You've got like a Jones bar, with a loop built in. Some folks like to use those things. You have mini aero bars. There's all kinds of things that folks can use. The puppy paw thing where they rest their forearms on the handlebars. How does that get incorporated into the overall no aero bar thing, or are you just focusing on the folks who want to rest their forearms in arm pads and look like a time trialist?
Yeah, we've received that question quite a bit, Hadi, and the reality is we need to remove any gray area, and that means that we just have to do away with all of the extensions. So anything that's going to be extending off of your handlebars in any capacity, we're officially saying no go. Again, just priority being, the safety of the aero bar element. And, we are not going to be going through and checking every single person's handlebars at every corral. That's not what we're going to do. But we're just asking that you buy in with us on this. And yeah, no additional bar ends or extensions. Sorry, Keegan Swenson. I know you had those little guys out front, but most of us aren't spending 55 miles off the front of the race solo. So I think the rest of us are going to be all right without those.
So basically what you're saying is flat bar only and nothing else. You just flat bars with no extracurricular, no extensions, no mods, and nothing pointing forward or backward, or just a flat bar.
Yeah, just no extensions. I mean, that said, we're not going to say someone cannot race the race on a gravel bike. as you guys know, people have done that and found success there. And if people want to race a gravel bike with drop bars or a mountain bike with drop bars, we're not going to stop them from doing that. The way we're defining it is extensions, so clip-on extensions. If you are adding this to an existing bar, then it's a no-go.
And really what you're asking people to do is to try to obey the spirit of this rule. That is, don't put something on that is giving you essentially some sort of aero advantage. But I mean, I've done this race with bar ends. I haven't in years, but I mean, 15 years ago, everyone had bar ends. If there was some old school rider with those, would that matter? Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's not our goal to go in and mandate this on the start line. We are going to be keeping an eye out for it, particularly in the pro corrals. But yeah, I mean, we are not going to be going and asking someone to remove that in the corral unless it's something that is super obvious or if another rider draws attention to it. But yeah, we understand, we get that. And I mean, my first mountain bike way back in the day had those big old, I think we call them cow horns back then, the big old wide ones. And you'd sit up 6 inches above the handlebar. So yeah, I mean, that's part of the culture of the sport and the way technology has evolved. If someone in the White Corral was unaware of that and showed up and had those on their bike that they've had for 10 years, that's not what we're looking for.
So you've heard Ryan mention the word safety several times. Your safety, of course, is a top concern with Lifetime. But we know stuff happens, whether or not you're in the Leadville 100, which is why being able to handle the cuts, scrapes, bumps, and bruises that come with riding off-road or in the backcountry is important. I bring this up because I was glad to see the Feed, of all places, adding safety kits to its offerings.
Yeah, I saw these too. I was intrigued. The kits fall under the My Medic umbrella, and there's a wide variety of them that can help you deal with a medical situation on trail or back at your car. The big daddy of the group is the My Medic Recon Pro. It's packed with supplies that can help assist with a number of situations: cuts, burns, airway, or even CPR. It comes in its own pre-packed backpack and would be a great item to keep in the trunk of your car. And there are scaled-down versions of the backpack emergency kit as well, if you find the Recon Pro is a bit too much for what you can carry.
There are also more mobile kits to take with you on rides and hikes. The Cycle Medic Pro comes in a top 2 bag and is equipped with gauze, antibiotic ointments, and wipes, ibuprofen, and more. Really good idea for the bike packer. There are also hike packs with emergency supplies in a pouch for stashing in a backpack. Some really well thought out stuff here.
Yeah. Now, obviously, no one likes having a fall or getting hurt, but the faster you can get that injury taken care of, the quicker your return to activity. And sometimes just having gauze or bandages on hands means that you can finish the ride. So claim your $80 annual credit at thefeed.com/Leadville, register your email, verify your phone number, and then spend your first Feed credit of $20 right away.
Back now with Ryan Cross of Lifetime and a look at the biggest corral and how things might change for that White Corral.
Let's move on to a little bit of a retrospective from last year. Last year had a slight change from what was in the previous year, the new Wave Start approach. There were 3 White Corrals at the back of the course, or at the back of the starting line. And I'm interested in sort of a debrief on what you all feel how successful that was. Do you feel like you nailed it? Do you feel like there are changes still to be made?
Yeah, it's a good question. And, the long and short of it is we're always learning, right? And in 2021, we made this shift towards wave starts. And that was the first time in the race's history that we did not have a mass start. So that was a huge shift, right? Like we made a big change there. We had a lot to learn. We've covered on this in the past, but there were course cutoff situations that we needed to address. Obviously, the White Corral in 2021, when we made that shift, was jam-packed. And that didn't work out for folks. And we saw that, and that feedback was heard loud and clear. So we made that move last year to go to 3 White Corrals to try to spread that out. In some ways, that worked really well. It did spread athletes out. It took, what was otherwise a jam-packed White Corral and spread it across 3. I think where we had some learnings was around the self-seating. Obviously, I think you guys saw that morning, just like I did, a lot of folks were, really eager to get up to that front White Corral. So we took that feedback, we're hearing that, and we're going to the drawing board to see what solutions we can provide. Because again, at the end of the day, it's experience and safety. And we want to make sure that, people aren't up there causing crashes. And if things are, too chaotic up there, we got to find solutions for that. So our team's talking about it. We're looking at solutions, and we'll have some final updates once we get closer to the event on that.
Yeah, I can tell you, somebody who got up early and checked in on the folks in White Corral, that the folks, their whole plan was, and their whole idea was not how good am I, but how early can I get up and get here. And that was the strategy. So I interviewed several of those people up there. I can't vouch for how fast they really were, but that was the strategy. It's like, well, here's how I adjust to this system. I just get up earlier than the rest of you, which is the way we used to do it, right, Fatty? I mean, that was kind of the old strategy at Leadville when we had essentially a handful of pros up front and then the rest of the field. It was, how early can you get up?
That was the main reason I stayed at the Delaware Inn back in the day. Because it was kitty corner from the starting line. I would get up, and before I even got out of my jammies, I would take my bike and lay it down at the starting line. And it's not like I was some renegade. That is what everyone did. There was no one at the starting line, but a couple, 500-700 bikes. It was a pretty cool, different way in a different time. Obviously, that wouldn't work with 1,600 bikes out there now, although that would be kind of an amazing, surreal picture. But yeah, things have changed. And I want to say that I think that in large part, the wave start has been a massive improvement and a massive success. What used to be my most anxiety-causing moment of the day out there, the starting line, is no longer anxiety-causing to me at all. It was a little bit surreal last year when, as part of the green wave on a single speed, I was, for a few minutes before the St. Kevin's climb, literally alone, which has never happened before, as the rest of the field got in front of me, but the next wave had not yet caught up. Strange, but funny. But I'm interested, are there other things that you are considering doing because of the success of the wave starts? For example, are you considering adding a number of people to the cap of the field? You could do more people now with the wave starts.
Yeah, it's something that we talk about often, right? We would love to bring more people out and to have the race grow, but you mentioned the number 1,600. That's really where we found a sweet spot to be. And everyone that's listening to this podcast that's climbed up the goat trail on Columbine and had hundreds of people descending in their direction understand that another 10%, even 20% would impact that experience, and again, I keep kind of driving this in, but it's a safety thing. It's, we couldn't put another 500, even if the wave starts allowed us the ability to do that. And sure, it could happen, but we don't feel like that would be enhancing the race experience. We've had years and years of doing this where we've really honed in on what is that optimal number. And we just don't feel like upping the ante is the right move. And sure, it would bring more folks out and, grow the event and all of that. But at the end of the day, that I don't think that would make the race better. And so we're staying kind of where we're at right now.
Good deal. Fatty and I absolutely love this course. It's iconic. It's epic. We have probably created 500 hours of content just about talking about the course. We want it to stay the same as much as possible. That said, might there be any changes to the course in the works?
Yeah, we're actually thinking about rerouting around Powerline this year. So
no.
It's kind of hard, and people have been complaining about it.
We're going to turn around at Twin Lakes Dam. This is going to be a 4-hour race.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, maybe we'll put the finish on top of Columbine. Yeah, we'll just keep it there.
Oh, no.
No. We, as you guys know, we made some changes a couple years ago, rerouting through Twin Lakes to avoid some private property. And, that was a small shift in the grand scheme of the course. But even, a shift like that, it requires a lot of thought. And so these decisions don't come lightly. And we don't have anything major planned. We're always looking at kind of, obviously, first and foremost, our relationship with the land managers, the permitting agencies, everyone that's, that allows us to be out there. At the end of the day, it's there's a lot of entities involved in order for us to, even get the green light to do it. So yeah, of course, is always, top of mind, and any sort of changes that have been proposed is something that we're always thinking about. But no, we don't anticipate any major changes to this year, and you can expect, the big keystone moments of the course, Columbine Power Line, Twin Lakes, all that stuff to be pretty in line with what you've seen in the past.
Yeah, a question for probably both of you here, and that would be, and maybe the sample size is too small right now, Ryan, but, we love, one thing that's great about Leadville is you can compare year to year to year to year, right? I mean, it's kind of like baseball almost. Like you can go back 20 years in this race and go, oh yeah, that guy raced this fast then, and now we've got, do you think this new course is on par or equal to the layouts we've had, the historical layout at Leadville?
Yeah, and I think I'm pretty sure someone did some pretty in-depth analyses on this. I want to say I saw it somewhere online, but it was almost 1-to-1. It was super close. So the tweaks we made were spot on, and it didn't impact much at all in terms of buckle times and finish times and such. So we were pretty spot on that.
Yeah, I mean, my own sense of it is that it is longer, but just a hair easier. And that hair easier is because you are up above 12,500 feet for a mile shorter. And that matters. I mean, that matters a lot. Where you turn around is in a pretty crucial place in terms of just how how a normal person is feeling. One thing that I would love to see is the approach that has been adopted for crewing in the Twin Lakes area to be adopted elsewhere on the course. And sort of background on that, Twin Lakes Dam is no longer just a place where crewing can happen. There is a group of people who are crewing just before the Twin Lakes Dam aid station. There are people who are at the Twin Lakes Dam aid station proper, and then there's Twin Lakes Dam alternate. In contrast, there is pipeline, and it is just a place. But you see people kind of spreading out and doing unofficial crewing at the fish hatchery and elsewhere kind of in that area. I'm wondering if you have given thought to, because there are so many people crewing and so many more people bringing crews, of making a pipeline alternate aid station.
Oh, Eldon, you're always one step ahead of us, aren't you?
At least.
At least. Yeah, maybe 2 to 3 sometimes. It's something we've looked at. And it's something that we're talking with some folks in that area about potentially offering up another option, but it's still very much just conversation, and may or may not be on the table for this year, but know that we are looking at options there. And hopefully, race director Tamara will have an update for you in the spring where we can say whether or not we'll have any additions there.
Awesome. Always love talking with Tamara as well as to you. I mean, the fact is, you're supposed to be the marketing guy. I know she's the operations person, but we still get good detailed information from both of you. Really do appreciate that.
We saw a first year for a new parking arrangement there in Leadville with shuttles involved. You gave that the first go. I know, for instance, myself personally, I parked close to the high school, or if not on the high school property, and just walked up to the finish line at the end of the day. So how did that go for you folks? The parking situation, the shuttle situation, and any follow-up there needed or reminder to people?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we saw a ton of people utilize the shuttles last year, and we were really happy with that, because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is kind of bridge this gap between us and the community. As you guys know, there's a lot of people in Leadville that support the race series, that love coming out, and there's some folks who don't love that the streets are closed and filled with bikers, and there's a lot of other events going on throughout the summer. So by the time the 100 rolls around, 100 bike and the 100 run in August, some folks are a little tired of their streets being closed and their grocery stores being packed. So we're always looking for ways that we can kind of help minimize the impact on the community. And parking is just one of those things that, no matter what way you cut it, that impact is always going to be felt. You got 1,600 people and their crews descending on 6th and Harrison the morning of the race. And without a doubt, there's going to be, a little bit of chaos and impact to the community. So the addition of the shuttles was really to help alleviate that, to offer options for you guys as the athletes, but also to try to, to resolve some issues in the community. And, hopefully we have fewer people parking in front of driveways and things like that. And so, yeah, the reception was really good, both from the community and the athletes. And similarly to, what I mentioned about the corrals, we're looking for feedback, and we've took it, we've heard it in, post-race surveys and conversations we've had with community members and athletes and people like yourselves who have been part of the race series for a really long time. And so we're taking that feedback and we're planning on refining it. And we're planning on making the shuttle plan even better to hopefully continue to serve, both the community and the race series athletes.
I just have one more question here, and you may or may not be able to answer this, and that was the red carpet. That we had no red carpet this year. Is the red carpet okay? We're going to have the red carpet. Do we need to start a GoFundMe page or something to get the red carpet back? Because I guess it was pretty beat up or something.
I was going to put a hashtag out there, save the red carpet, but, I figured maybe that wouldn't do me any favors. But yeah, for the sake of transparency, I'll just tell you guys what happened. It was a miscommunication. We had ordered a new one, and it did not show up in time. And unfortunately, the team that was managing the warehouse thought it was going to be there. And so the old beat up one got thrown in the dumpster that week before the race. And unfortunately, the new fancy one that we ordered did not arrive in time. So the week before we were going through, I was like, oh, well, so that's not going to be here. So we still got the old one, right? And we're like, oh, we threw that away. I was like, oh, no. So, yeah, it was a bit of an unfortunate circumstance. And, well,
damn you, supply chain.
Yeah, right. Well, it is funny. Like those custom red carpets, like we're looking at getting the logo on it and stuff. They have a long lead time, and they're actually quite expensive. So, like, getting one was, wasn't as quick as just ordering off Amazon or something. Which, by the way, we did do. We ordered a last-minute replacement on Amazon, and it showed up, and we were like, no way, we are not putting this out. The quality was junk.
It was pretty.
Yeah. So, yeah, sometimes, a little transparency goes a long way, and, you guys, it is what it is. We were disappointed that we missed the mark on that, but yeah, it wasn't for lack of thought. We were all a little sad that didn't happen, and we will have a red carpet in 2023. I can promise you that.
So where will you be on race day? I assume you're not going to be, in Lycra and with your non-bar ends ready to line up. So what are you doing? Where do you station yourself for the race?
Yeah. Well, one of these days I'll actually get to race the Leadville Trail 100, but that won't be this year. I have too much on my plate on that actual day to be on the start line with you guys. But one of these days I will, or maybe one of these days I'll get out to a qualifier, get to start with you guys at one of those. But yeah, the 100 bike is my biggest day of the year. It's, all hands on deck, and our team's just firing. So I will be in the field working the event. You guys are familiar, obviously, with Michelle Duffy, who was previously in my role, and she's managing a lot more with Lifetime these days. And she has always been kind of the support, leader marketer out there. And she's actually not able to attend the race this year due to a big commitment. So I'm down one A-team member. And so that means I won't be able to be doing any sort of silly bike racing myself. But yeah, I think it's fun. I like this question actually as to like what do we do on race day? And we have so many team members out there doing a variety of things. And from my perspective, we go in with a plan, right? We always go in with here are the things that absolutely need to happen, non-negotiables, and then there's, kind of that secondary, here are the things that if we have time, we can squeeze in. And then the kind of tertiary, maybe nice to have, if I end up with a free hour, here's some things I can try to accomplish. But yeah, from my perspective as the marketing lead, there's a lot. There's the on-site social media management, live social coverage, which we really take a lot of pride in as a marketing team. So we usually bring out some other resources, some of our marketing team members that work on like Unbound Gravel and Big Sugar. We bring them out to Leadville to help us with that live social media coverage. So we build a plan around that. Also, we have a really, really tactical management plan around our video and photo coverage in the field. I keep saying rider safety. Obviously, it's a theme throughout, but we don't want to put 30 videographers and 30 photographers on the front of the race because it wouldn't be safe. So a big part of what I do is I hold kind of a media conference leading up to the event, briefing the media on where they can be, where they can't be, how to safely move throughout the course. And then I kind of, I oversee that throughout the weekend. I make sure that, so-and-so is where they said they were going to be and they're not, running up to the top of Columbine in a four-wheeler that we didn't approve. So that's a big part of it. And then also producing all of our internal video and photo content teams. So with the addition of the Lifetime Grand Prix last year, we had a couple different projects going on at once, particularly around the front of the race. So managing that production schedule, managing those teams, they are on motos and four-wheelers and such. And so there's a pretty robust and technical safety plan around that. So that's a big part of what I'm doing on the field and race day. And then also any sort of PR management, crisis management, should that come up, that falls on our plate as well. And awards are a huge thing. We got to do everything in the field, but then be back there for the finishers to make sure that we've got, the flowers and the champagne. And then obviously now, as of last year, we moved to belt buckles in the finishing chute, as well as awards on race day. So that was a big shift and one that we're going to keep for this year. So yeah, our team's obviously also responsible for making sure we have all the awards lined up and staged and ready, and sound system and backdrops. And yeah, there's so many little details. So sometimes I wish there were 10 of me on race day, but
a live remote at the expo with a couple of goofy podcasters, that was on your plate as well. So
yeah,
you got that done.
Yeah,
very nice.
Ryan, it is always great talking to you. Some great info here. Thanks for being on our show.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I really appreciate it, and really looking forward to another awesome year. And yeah, give us a shout if you guys have any questions. We always love to hear it.
Again, thanks to Ryan for coming on. We expect to have Ryan and or someone else from the race series on again this season, so please watch your feed for that. Meantime, keep your questions coming, and we will do our best to keep them in front of the race organizers.
We have had a heck of a winter here in the LA area. The rain has been plentiful, and we've even had snow below 1,000 feet. Now, I'm not one that rides in the rain, at least not on purpose, but I've never been adverse to cold. The only thing that bothers me about riding in cool weather is wearing arm warmers all day. If I know that it is likely I will have arm warmers on for the duration of a ride, I will opt instead for a long sleeve jersey.
Yeah, it's those elastic bands on the arm warmers, right? They're either too tight or they dig into your arms, or they're too loose and then they start to slouch down. These are the problems of the modern day cyclist, right? It's just the kind of thing we love to complain about. Luckily, DNA Cycling has a solution, and it is Hottie's answer too, the long sleeve jersey. And not just a long sleeve jersey, but DNA actually has 3 choices depending on climate. There's a thermal, a wool, and a lightweight version. And I, on a personal note, I have and use at least one of each of them. Love them.
Yeah, I love that DNA has that lightweight version. Those are really versatile. You can wear them with a long sleeve base layer for cold conditions or a short sleeve base layer for cool spring rides. Don't get me wrong, I have piles of arm warmers too, and I do use them, but thank you, DNA, for having a long sleeve jersey option, or options actually, in your line.
And if you're going custom, DNA does have their 3 long sleeve jerseys in their custom clothing lineup. If you remember, Hottie, a long time ago, but when I did the Fat Cyclist blog, I did the wool version for one of the jerseys, and it sold really well. Still have it, still love it, still use it. Anyway, you can buy 1 or 2 of their jerseys of these weights without logos just to have around to ride during training, or make them part of your custom order. And getting started is really easy. Just head to dnacycling.com and choose the custom apparel option. Be sure to let them know you found out about DNA from the Leadville podcast.
All right, let's put a bow on this episode. Fatty and I are on social media. If you care to reach out on Instagram, it's at Michael Houghton and at Eldon Nelson. Of course, we are both on that Facebook Leadville 100 Mountain Bike Participants page. And if you want to have a deeper conversation, join our Slack channel. You'll find a link to it over at leadville.fm/Slack. Both of those locations, good spots to leave your questions for our what did I say? How about LFAQs? LFAQs. Damn it, I named this segment. I ought to be able to spell it, right? LFAQs segment.
We need a better name. A lot of people have noticed, by the way, with the Slack channel in particular, people ask a question, they're often getting a reply from me in about 3 seconds. I have Slack open all the time. If you like this show, go to wherever you listen and give us a 5-star rating and write a review. To see all the ways you can find the show, go to leadville.fm. Good luck in your riding, your racing, and your recovery. Thanks for listening, and we're going to see you real soon. Believe it or not, real soon at the starting line.